The cold bit deep into Quan Ho's bones as he floated through the dying ship. His breath came out in small white clouds that froze and fell like snow in the weak gravity. The lights flickered on and off, making strange shadows dance on the metal walls. The ship was called Velthara. It had been his home for 3 years. Now it was his tomb. Quan Ho pushed himself along the corridor using his hands on the wall. His people were not strong. They had thin arms and legs, and their skin was pale like moonlight. They were built for thinking, not for fighting. That had always been their way. He reached the emergency room where Nari was waiting. She lay on a metal table, breathing very slowly. Her eyes were closed. Blood had dried on her forehead from when the ship was attacked. "Nari," he said softly.
"Can you hear me?"
Her eyes opened a little. They were the color of deep water. "Quan Ho? Are we still alive?" "Yes, but not for long." She tried to sit up but fell back down. "The others?" Quan Ho looked away. Gone. All of them. 43 people had been on the ship when they started their journey. Scientists, engineers, and explorers. They had come to study the old ruins on the dead planet called Xerion 7. The ruins were very old, older than any known civilization. They wanted to learn who had built them and why they had disappeared. But the Kreks had found them first. The Kreks were raiders who lived in the dark spaces between stars. They had no homeworld. They just took what they wanted and killed anyone who tried to stop them. They had ships with big guns and no mercy. When the Kreks attacked, the Velthara had tried to run. But it was a research ship, not a warship. It had tools for digging and scanning, not weapons. The crew had never fired a shot at anyone in their lives. The battle lasted only minutes. The Krek ships tore holes in the hull. The air rushed out into space. People died fast in the cold and emptiness. Quan Ho and Nari had made it to the emergency room. They sealed the door and put on life support suits. They sent distress signals to anyone who might hear them. Then they waited. That was 3 weeks ago. Now Quan Ho checked their air supply on his suit's small screen. The numbers were red. They had maybe 6 hours left if they were lucky. "I recorded everything," he told Nari. "All our research data. What we found on Xerion 7. Someone should know." The ruins on Xerion 7 had been amazing. Huge buildings made of materials they did not understand. Machines that still worked after millions of years. Art and writing in a language no one could read. But most important were the star maps they had found. Maps showing the locations of other worlds with ruins, other places where the ancient builders had lived. If someone could find all these places and study them, they might learn what happened to this lost civilization. The Kreks wanted those maps. They did not care about learning or history. They wanted the technology. Ancient weapons and ships that could make them the strongest force in the galaxy. "Did you send the data?" Nari asked. "I tried. But we are too far from any friendly worlds. No one can hear us out here. This part of space was called the Empty Zone. No civilized people came here. It was too dangerous, too far from trade routes and colonies. Only raiders and criminals lived in places like this." Quan Ho floated over to the small window and looked out. Stars filled the black sky like diamonds on dark cloth. They were beautiful but cold and distant. Each one might have worlds full of life, but none of them could help 2 dying people on a broken ship. "Tell me about home," Nari said. Quan Ho smiled a little. Home was a planet with 3 moons and oceans the color of emeralds. Cities floated in the sky, connected by bridges of light. Libraries bigger than mountains held all the knowledge their people had gathered in 10,000 years of peace. "The autumn rains should be starting soon," he said. "The leaves on the singing trees will turn gold and make music in the wind." "I wanted to see that again," Nari whispered. "You will," Quan Ho lied. "We both will," but he knew better. Their people would never find them out here. Veltharans did not have many ships, and none of them were built for war or rescue missions in dangerous space. They would assume the Velthara was lost and mourn them, but they would not come looking. The ship shook a little as a small piece of debris hit the hull. More air hissed out through tiny cracks. The life support systems were failing one by one. Quan Ho went back to his workstation and continued recording his research logs. If they were going to die, at least their discoveries would not die with them. Maybe someday someone would find the ship and learn what they had discovered. Research log, day 847, he spoke into the recorder. "This is xenobiologist Quan Ho of the research vessel Velthara. We have confirmed that the ruins on Xerion 7 are approximately 2.3 million years old. The builders used materials we cannot identify, but they appear to be artificially created rather than naturally occurring." He paused, looking at the data on his screen, charts and graphs showing energy readings, material analysis, and translation attempts of the strange writing they had found. The most significant discovery is a series of star maps carved into the central temple structure. These maps show the locations of 47 other worlds, all marked with the same symbols we found on Xerion 7. We believe these are the locations of other ruins built by the same civilization. Nari made a soft sound. He looked over and saw she was sleeping again. Her breathing was getting weaker. The cold was taking her slowly. Quan Ho wrapped a thermal blanket around her and went back to his recording. Personal note, he continued. I do not understand how a civilization so advanced could simply disappear. Their technology was far beyond anything we know today. Their cities could have housed millions of people. Yet there are no bodies, no signs of war or disaster. They just stopped. He thought about the empty buildings they had explored. Everything was clean and undamaged, as if the people had just walked away one day and never come back. Beds were made. Food was still on tables, preserved by some unknown process. Personal items were arranged neatly in homes. It was like finding a city where everyone had vanished in the middle of an ordinary day. Maybe they evolved beyond the need for physical bodies, he said to the recorder. Maybe they became beings of pure energy and left this dimension behind. Or maybe something terrible happened that we cannot imagine. The temperature was dropping faster now. Ice was forming on the walls. Soon the water in their bodies would freeze and they would sleep forever in the cold dark of space. Quan Ho looked out the window again. He thought he saw something moving between the stars, but it was probably just his tired eyes playing tricks on him. End log, he said. He went back to Nari and sat beside her. She opened her eyes and looked at him. Quan Ho, I am scared. Do not be scared, he said, taking her hand. We lived good lives. We learned things that mattered. We helped our people understand the universe a little better. Will anyone remember us? Yes, he said. They will remember. But even as he said it, he wondered if that was true. They were so far from home, so lost in the empty dark. Who would ever know what happened to them? The ship's computer made a sound. A warning beep that meant something was wrong. But everything was wrong now, so Quan Ho ignored it. Then the beeping changed. It became faster, more urgent. This was not a malfunction warning. This was something else. Quan Ho pushed himself over to the sensor panel. His hand shook as he read the display. Multiple contacts approaching. Large ships, moving fast. His heart started beating quickly. Maybe it was a rescue ship. Maybe someone had heard their distress call after all. But as he watched the sensors, his hope turned to fear. The energy signatures were wrong. These were not Veltheran ships. They were not any friendly ships he recognized. The readings looked like warships. Big ones, Nari, he called. Wake up. Something is coming. She opened her eyes and looked at him. Rescue? Quan Ho stared at the sensor display. The ships were getting closer. Soon they would be close enough to scan the Velthara. Soon they would know that two people were still alive inside the dead ship. I do not know, he said quietly. I do not know. The bridge of the Soul's Fury hummed with quiet activity. Captain Jin-Woo Park stood with his hands behind his back, watching the main screen show the starfield ahead. The ship was massive, built like a fortress that could fly through space. Thick metal walls, heavy weapons and engines powerful enough to push it faster than most civilian ships could ever dream of going. Captain, called Commander Hyejin Kim from her station. We have completed the sweep of Sector 7. No sign of the Krek squadron that was reported here. Jin-Woo nodded. His face was calm, but his eyes were always watching, always thinking. He was 42 years old and had been fighting in space for half his life. The Kreks were like a disease that spread through the galaxy. You could never kill all of them, but you could stop them from hurting innocent people. Any debris? Any sign they were here at all? He asked. Yes, sir. We found pieces of hull plating about 6 hours out. Looks like there was a fight. The human fleet consisted of 5 ships. The Soul's Fury was the biggest, a battleship designed to take on anything the galaxy could throw at it. The other 4 were smaller, but just as deadly. Humans built their ships to last and to hit hard. Dr. Taemin Lee looked up from his science station. He was the ship's expert on alien races and technology. Captain, the debris pattern suggests the Kreks were chasing someone. There are traces of exotic materials that do not match Krek ship construction. Civilians? Jin-Woo asked. Most likely. The materials match known peaceful species ship designs. Jinwoo felt a familiar anger in his chest. The Kreks loved to attack ships that could not fight back. Scientists, traders, explorers, people who just wanted to learn and grow and live their lives in peace. Continue the sweep, he ordered. If there was a fight, there might be survivors. Lieutenant So-Young Choi was at the pilot station. She was young, but already one of the best pilots in the fleet. Sir, should I take us deeper into the empty zone? That debris trail leads pretty far out. Yes, follow it. Most species avoided this part of space. They called it the empty zone because it was far from any major civilizations. Dangerous and wild, but humans were not most species. They went where others feared to go. The human race had only been in space for 200 years. That was very young compared to other species who had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. But in those 200 years, humans had made quite a reputation for themselves. Other species called humans unpredictable, aggressive, scary. Humans called themselves practical. Contact. Ensign Donghyun Kang called out from the sensor station. I have multiple Krek ships bearing 274 Mark 18. They appear to be in combat with... Wait, that cannot be right. What is it? Jinwoo stepped closer to the sensor display. Sir, the Kreks are firing at empty space. There are no return shots, no enemy ships that I can detect. Commander Hyojin frowned. Are they target practicing? No, ma'am. Their weapons fire is too intense, too focused. They are shooting at something specific, but I cannot see what. Dr. Tae-min worked quickly at his station. Captain, I am detecting very faint power signatures in that area. Barely registering on our sensors. Could be a ship with failed systems. Jinwoo understood immediately. A crippled ship. The Kreks are shooting at survivors. Orders, sir? Hyojin asked. There was no hesitation in Jinwoo's voice. Battle stations. All ships prepare for combat. Alarms began to sound throughout the fleet. Red lights flashed as the crew moved to their combat positions. Weapons powered up, shields activated. The ships changed from peaceful explorers to deadly predators in seconds. Sir, Donghyun reported, the Kreks have detected us. 6 ships total. 3 heavy cruisers, 3 destroyers. They are turning to engage. Good, Jinwoo said. So-Young, take us in fast and hard. I want to hit them before they can destroy that civilian ship. Yes, sir. So-Young's hands flew over her controls. The Soul's Fury leaped forward like a hunting animal. The other ships in the fleet followed. The Inchin's Hammer, the Busan's Revenge, the Daigu's Pride, and the Gwangju's Fury. Each one was ready for war. Hyojin, what is our tactical situation? Jinwoo asked. We have the advantage in firepower and armor, but they have position. The Kreks are between us and the civilian ship. If we are not careful, our own weapons fire could hit the survivors. Then we will be very careful. Tae-min, I need to know everything about that civilian ship. Who they are, what condition they are in. Dr. Tae-min worked at his sensors.
Getting clearer readings now, sir.
The ship appears to be Veltharan design. Research vessel. Hull is badly damaged, engines are offline, life support is failing. Veltharans? Hyojin looked surprised. What are they doing way out here? Jinwoo knew about the Veltharans. Peaceful people, very smart but physically weak. They spent their time studying and learning. They had never hurt anyone in their entire history. How many life signs? He asked. 2, sir. Very faint. They do not have much time. The Krek ships were getting closer now. Their weapons began firing at the human fleet. Bright beams of energy crossed the dark space between them. Shields holding, reported the weapons officer, Chief Petty Officer Jae-Sung Park. Return fire? Not yet. So-Young, can you get us around them? I want a clear shot at that area without risking the civilians. I can try, sir, but the Kreks are not stupid. They know what we are doing. The space battle began in earnest. The Krek ships moved to block the humans from reaching the civilian vessel. Their weapons were powerful, designed to destroy and terrify. But human weapons were designed for something else entirely. They were designed to protect. Jae-Sung, target their engines and weapon systems. I want them disabled, not destroyed. We need to get past them, not waste time in a long fight. Understood, sir. The Soul's Fury fired its main guns. Streams of plasma energy reached out across space and struck the closest Krek's cruiser. The enemy ship's shields flared and failed. Its engines went dark. 1 down, Hyojin reported. 5 to go. Sir, Donghyun called out urgently. The civilian ship's life support just went critical. Those people have minutes, not hours. Jinwoo made a decision that would have surprised many alien species, but was perfectly normal for a human captain. So Young, ramming speed. Take us right through their formation, sir. So Young looked back at him. You heard me. Straight through the middle. Maximum speed. So Young smiled. It was the kind of smile that made enemies afraid. Yes, sir. The Soul's Fury accelerated directly toward the Krex ships. This was not a normal battle tactic. Most species would try to avoid enemy fire, fight from a distance, use careful strategy. Humans preferred the direct approach. The Krex ships fired everything they had at the approaching battleship. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between them, but the Soul's Fury was built to take punishment. Its armor held. Its shields absorbed most of the damage, and it did not slow down. Brace for impact, Hyjin called out. The human battleship slammed into the Krex formation like a hammer through glass. One enemy destroyer exploded instantly. Another was sent spinning away, its hull cracked open like an egg. We are through, So Young reported. Clear path to the civilian ship. Launch rescue shuttles immediately, Jinwoo ordered. Medical teams standing by. 2 small ships detached from the Soul's Fury and raced toward the dying Veltheran vessel. Behind them, the rest of the human fleet was finishing off the remaining Krex ships. Dr. Taman was monitoring the rescue operation. Shuttle 1 has reached the civilian ship. They are cutting through the hull now. Jinwoo watched on the main screen as his people worked to save 2 aliens they had never met. This was why he had joined the military. Not to conquer or destroy, but to protect those who could not protect themselves. Got them, the shuttle pilot reported. 2 survivors, both alive but in bad condition. Bringing them home. Medical team to Shuttle Bay 1, Jinwoo announced over the ship's communication system. Prepare for alien casualties. Within minutes, the shuttles were back aboard the Soul's Fury. The medical team rushed the 2 Veltharans to the sick bay while the crew secured from battle stations. All Krex ships destroyed or disabled, Hyjin reported. No human casualties. Jinwoo nodded. It had been a good day. They had saved 2 lives and removed some dangerous raiders from space. Dr. Song to bridge, came a voice over the communication system. The 2 survivors are stable. They will live. Good news, Jinwoo said. Keep me informed of their condition. He looked out at the stars and thought about the Veltharans now resting in his medical bay. They had been alone in the dark, waiting to die, but they were not alone anymore. Set course for Veltharan space, he ordered. Let us take these people home. As the Soul's Fury turned toward the distant worlds where the Veltharans lived, Jinwoo felt satisfied. This was what humans did best. They found people in trouble and helped them, even if it meant fighting through a squadron of raiders to do it. Kwanho woke up in a bed that was much too big for him. The room was white and clean, with bright lights that did not flicker. Machines made soft beeping sounds nearby. He could feel warm air moving around him, and the gravity felt normal under his body. He was alive. For a moment, he could not remember how that was possible. The last thing he remembered was floating in the cold darkness of his dying ship, watching strange signals on the sensors. You are awake, said a voice. Good. I was starting to worry about you. Kwanho turned his head and saw a human woman in a white coat. She had short black hair and kind eyes behind thin glasses. She was checking numbers on a small device in her hand. I am Dr. Yujin Song, she said. You are safe now. You are on a human ship called the Soul's Fury. Nari, Kwanho said quickly. My friend Nari, is she is alive, sleeping in the bed next to you. Dr. Song pointed to another bed nearby. Kwanho could see Nari lying there with machines connected to her arms. Her breathing looked steady and peaceful. How long have we been here? Kwanho asked. 3 days. You were both very sick from the cold and lack of air, but you are getting better now. Dr. Song checked his eyes with a small light, then felt his pulse. Her hands were gentle but strong. You Veltharans are tougher than you look, she said with a smile. Most species would not have survived what you went through. Kwanho looked around the room. Everything was built solid and thick. The walls looked like they could stop bullets. The ceiling had emergency lights and air vents built right into it. Even the medical equipment looked like it was designed for a war zone. This is a military ship, he said. Yes, a battleship. We were on patrol when we found you. You fought the Krex? Dr. Song's expression got harder. We destroyed them. Every single one. Kwanho felt a chill that had nothing to do with being cold. His people knew about humans, but they had never met any before. The story said humans were dangerous, aggressive. They solved problems by fighting instead of thinking. But these humans had saved his life. Why did you help us? He asked. Dr. Song looked surprised by the question. Because you needed help. Why else? Before Quan Ho could answer, the door opened and a young human man walked in. He wore a dark blue uniform with metal pins on his chest. His face was excited and friendly. Is he awake? Good, the young man said. I am Ensign Dong Hyun Kang. I work on the ship's sensors and communications. I have been waiting to meet you. Dong Hyun is interested in other species. Dr. Song explained. He has been asking about you since we brought you aboard. Dong Hyun pulled a chair close to Quan Ho's bed and sat down. I hope you do not mind, but I have been studying your ship's computer records. The data about your research is amazing. Those ruins you found. How old did you say they were? More than 2 million years, Quan Ho said. Incredible. And no one knows who built them? No, they just disappeared one day. Left everything behind. Dong Hyun's eyes got wide. Captain Park wants to talk to you about this when you feel better. The location of those ruins could be very important. Dr. Song frowned at the young ensign. Let him rest first. He just woke up. Sorry, Dong Hyun said. I get excited about discoveries. Would you like to see the ship? When you feel strong enough, I mean. Quan Ho was curious about these humans and their massive warship. Yes, I would like that. 2 hours later, Dong Hyun returned with a wheelchair. Nari is still sleeping, Dr. Song said. But you can walk around for a while. Just take it easy. Dong Hyun pushed Quan Ho out of the medical bay and into a wide corridor. The walls were made of thick metal painted gray. Red lights marked emergency stations. Signs in human writing pointed to different parts of the ship. The Soul's Fury is one of our newest battleships, Dong Hyun explained as they moved. She is 800 meters long and carries a crew of 1,200 people. Quan Ho was amazed by the size. His research ship had been less than 200 meters long with a crew of 43. This was like a floating city. How many weapons does it have? He asked. Main guns, missile tubes, defense cannons, point defense systems. Dong Hyun counted on his fingers. Maybe 300 weapon systems total? I work on sensors, not weapons. 300 weapons. Quan Ho's ship had carried 0 weapons. His people believed that if you carried weapons, you would eventually use them. Better to have none at all. They passed groups of human crew members walking through the corridors. Men and women in uniforms talking and laughing together. They all looked strong and healthy. Many of them carried small weapons on their belts like it was the most natural thing in the world. Everyone is armed, Quan Ho observed. Of course, Dong Hyun said. You never know when you might need to defend the ship. From what? You are already on your own ship. Dong Hyun looked confused for a moment. Well, boarding parties, internal emergencies, equipment failures that might be dangerous. Lots of reasons. They entered a large room filled with machines and workstations. Humans in different colored uniforms were busy at various tasks. Some were repairing equipment. Others were checking systems on computer screens. This is engineering, Dong Hyun said. The heart of the ship. A tall man with gray hair looked up from a control panel and walked over to them. His uniform had more metal pins than Dong Hyun's, and his hands were stained with machine oil. This must be our Veltharan guest, the man said with a smile. I am Chief Engineer Jae-Sung Park. How are you feeling? Better, thank you. Your people saved our lives. Just doing our job, Jae-Sung said. Dong Hyun giving you the tour? Yes, sir. I was showing him the fusion reactors. Jae-Sung pointed to a massive machine behind them. It was covered in warning lights and thick protective barriers. That is what powers this ship. 3 fusion reactors, each one capable of powering a small city. Quan Ho stared at the machine. Is it not dangerous to have something so powerful on a ship? Everything worth doing is dangerous, Jae-Sung said. But we build our ship strong. These reactors are surrounded by armor that could stop a direct meteor impact. What happens if they fail? They do not fail, Jae-Sung said with confidence. And if they did, we have backups. And backups for the backups. Dong Hyun wheeled Quan Ho to the next area. This is the weapons control center, he said. The room was darker than the others, filled with screens showing targeting displays and weapon status. Humans sat at control stations ready to fire the ship's guns at a moment's notice. We are not currently in combat, Dong Hyun explained, but we stay ready just in case. Do you fight often? Quan Ho asked. Often enough. There are many dangerous things in space. Pirates, raiders, hostile aliens. Someone has to stop them. But fighting creates more violence, more anger and hate. Dong Hyun stopped pushing the wheelchair and came around to look at Quan Ho directly. What would have happened to you and Nari if we had not fought the Kreks? Quan Ho was quiet for a moment. We would have died. And what will happen to the next civilian ship the Kreks find if no one stops them? They will die too. So sometimes fighting prevents more death than it causes, Dong Hyun said gently. We do not enjoy violence, but we will use it to protect innocent people. They continued the tour, visiting the ship's bridge where Quan Ho met Captain Jinwoo Park. The captain was exactly what Quan Ho expected from a human military leader. Tall, strong, with eyes that missed nothing. How are you feeling? Captain Jinwoo asked. Much better. Your crew has been very kind to us. Good. When you are ready, I would like to hear about your research. Those ruins you discovered may be more important than you realize. Quan Ho spent the next hour telling Captain Jinwoo everything they had learned about the ancient civilization. The captain listened carefully, asking smart questions. The star map showing other ruin locations, Captain Jinwoo said. Do you still have that data? Yes, it is in my research files. The Kreks were after that information, were they not? Yes, they wanted to find the other ruins and take whatever technology they could. Captain Jinwoo nodded slowly. If these ruins contain advanced weapons or ship designs, they could tip the balance of power in this part of space. We cannot let that happen. What will you do? First, we take you home safely. Then we report this to our government and yours. Both our peoples need to know about this discovery. That evening, back in the medical bay, Nari was awake. She looked much better, though still weak. Dr. Song said she would recover completely. The humans saved us, Quan Ho told her. I remember, Nari said. I remember their ship arriving just as everything went dark. I thought I was dreaming. They destroyed 6 Krek ships to rescue us. Nari was quiet for a while. I always heard humans were violent and dangerous. They are violent, Quan Ho said. But maybe violence is not always bad. Maybe sometimes it protects good things. The Kreks would have killed us, Nari said, and they would have used our research to hurt others. But the humans stopped them. Not with words or negotiations, but with force. Quan Ho thought about everything he had seen on the ship. Humans who carried weapons as naturally as tools. Machines built for war that were also homes for families and friends. People who could destroy enemies without hesitation, but who had risked their lives to save 2 strangers. Maybe his people had been wrong about violence. Maybe the universe was not a place where peaceful words could solve every problem. The alarm woke everyone on the ship at once. Red lights flashed in the corridors, and a voice spoke over the communication system in calm, clear words that somehow made Quan Ho's blood turn cold. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. All hands to battle stations. Quan Ho sat up in his medical bed as humans ran past the window. They moved fast but not with panic. This was something they had practiced many times. Dr. Song came into the room, her medical coat replaced by a dark uniform with armor plates. Stay in your bed, she told Quan Ho and Nari. We may be in for some rough movement. What is happening? Nari asked. Krek ships, a lot of them. Before Dr. Song could explain more, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Captain Jinwoo's voice filled the room. This is the captain speaking. We have detected 12 Kreks vessels approaching our position. 3 heavy cruisers, 6 destroyers, and 3 carrier ships with fighter squadrons. This appears to be the main battle group that the ships we encountered earlier were scouting for. Quan Ho felt his stomach drop. 12 ships. The humans had destroyed 6 Kreks vessels to save him and Nari, and that had been dangerous enough. But 12 ships, including the big carrier vessels, they want the research data, he said quietly. All civilian personnel are to remain in designated safe areas, Captain Jinwoo continued. All military personnel prepare for extended combat operations. We will not allow these raiders to threaten innocent lives or steal important scientific discoveries. Dr. Song checked their medical monitors quickly. You 2 are still recovering. Try not to worry too much. Our crew knows what they are doing. How can 5 human ships fight 12 Kreks vessels? Nari asked. Dr. Song smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile a hunter might have when tracking dangerous prey. You are about to find out why other species are afraid of us. She left to prepare for casualties, and Quan Ho and Nari were alone with the sound of running feet and shouted orders outside their room. On the bridge of the Soul's Fury, Captain Jinwoo stood at the center of organized chaos. His officers worked at their stations with intense focus, preparing for the biggest fight of their careers. Distance to contact? Jinwoo asked. 40,000 kilometers in closing, reported Ensign Dong-hyun from sensors. The Kreks are in standard attack formation. Carriers in the back with fighter cover. Heavy ships in front. Commander Hai-Jin Kim looked up from her tactical display. Sir, they have us outnumbered more than 2-1. Recommend we withdraw and call for reinforcements. No. Jinwoo's voice was firm. If we run, they will follow us right into civilized space. Better to stop them here. Sir, our fleet is strong, but 12 ships. Ye-Jin, how many times have we fought when the odds were against us? She thought for a moment. Every single time, sir. And how many times have we lost? Never, sir. Then let us keep that record intact. Weapon status? Chief Jae-sung's voice came over the communication system from the engine room. All weapons charged and ready. Shields at maximum power. Engines running at 110%. 110%? Jinwoo raised an eyebrow. I may have made some modifications, sir. Thought you might need the extra speed today. On Lieutenant So Young's fighter, she was leading a squadron of 12 human fighters toward the approaching Kreks fleet. Her small ship was fast and deadly, armed with missiles and energy cannons. Blue Squadron, this is Blue Leader, she said into her radio. Remember, our job is to keep their fighters busy while the big ships do the heavy work. Stay close to your wing partners and watch each other's backs. Blue Leader, this is Blue 2, came another pilot's voice. Are we really going to fight 60 Kreks fighters with 12 ships? Those are not bad odds, So Young replied. I have seen worse. Back in the medical bay, Kwan-ho and Nari could feel the ship changing course as it moved to engage the enemy. The deck plates vibrated under their feet as the massive engines pushed the battleship to its limits. I cannot believe they are doing this for us, Nari said. It is not just for us, Kwan-ho replied. The research data about the ancient ruins. If the Kreks get it, they could find weapons that would make them unstoppable. The first exchange of weapons fire lit up the space between the two fleets like a deadly fireworks show. The Krek ships fired first, sending streams of red energy across the darkness. The human ships replied with blue-white beams that cut through space like swords of light. Direct hit on Kreks Cruiser number 2, Dong-hyun reported. Their shields are down to 60%. Target their weapons and engines, Jinwoo ordered. I want them disabled, not destroyed. We do not have time for a long fight. The Soul's Fury shook as enemy fire hit its shields. The lights flickered for a moment, then came back on. Minor damage to forward shield generators, reported the damage control officer. Backup systems online. In space, So Young's fighter squadron was dancing between laser beams and missiles. The Kreks fighters were fast, but the humans were faster. More importantly, they were smarter. Blue 3, you have 2 bogeys on your tail, So Young called out. I see them, Blue Leader, trying to shake them off. Blue 7, swing around and help him out. On my way. The human pilots worked together like parts of a single machine. When one was in trouble, others came to help. When they attacked, they did it as a team. The Kreks pilots were skilled, but they fought as individuals. It made all the difference. On the main battle, the human fleet was using tactics that made the Kreks commanders nervous. Instead of staying in formation and trading shots from a distance, the humans were moving constantly. They would attack one ship, then quickly move to attack another. They concentrated their fire to overwhelm enemy shields, then moved on before the Kreks could respond effectively. Kreks Destroyer 4 is disabled, Hyojin reported. Engines offline, weapons destroyed. Good, next target? The lead carrier ship, sir. If we can take out their fighter launch bays, do it. The Soul's Fury turned toward the massive Kreks carrier like a shark smelling blood. The enemy ship was 3 times larger than the human battleship, but size was not everything. Jae-sung's voice came from engineering. Captain, I need to reduce power to weapons for 30 seconds. The modifications I made to the engines are causing some power fluctuations. 30 seconds without main guns in the middle of a battle? Jinwoo asked. Yes, sir. But after that I can give you 120% power to all systems. Jinwoo looked at the tactical display. The Kreks were closing in, thinking they had the advantage. Do it. For 30 seconds, the Soul's Fury relied only on its smaller defensive weapons, while Jae-sung worked his magic in the engine room. Krek ships fired everything they had at the seemingly weakened human battleship. Then the 30 seconds ended. The Soul's Fury erupted with weapons fire like an angry god. Every gun on the ship fired at once, sending out enough energy to power a small planet. The beams reached across space and tore into the Kreks carrier's hull like paper. The enemy ship's shields collapsed instantly. Its armor melted under the intense heat. Secondary explosions rippled along its length as weapon storage areas caught fire. Krex Carrier 1 is destroyed, Dong-hyun reported with amazement in his voice. Moving to Carrier 2, So-young's voice came over the radio. Her fighter squadron had cleared out most of the enemy fighters and was now attacking the remaining carrier ships directly. In the medical bay, Kwan-ho and Nari held onto their beds as the ship shook with weapons fire. Through the small window they could see flashes of light as the battle raged outside. How are they winning? Nari asked. The Krex have more ships. I do not know, Kwan-ho said. But I am starting to understand something about humans. They do not think like other species. On the bridge, Captain Jin-woo was proving exactly that. Instead of fighting a defensive battle, he was attacking constantly. Instead of trying to preserve his ships, he was using them like weapons themselves. So-young ramming speed on Carrier 2, he ordered. Sir, came the surprised reply from his pilot. You heard me. Full speed right into their launch bay. Yes, sir. Other species would have thought this was suicide. But So-young trusted her captain completely. Her fighter accelerated toward the huge carrier ship at maximum speed. At the last second, she fired all her missiles directly into the carrier's launch bay, then pulled up sharply to avoid crashing. The missiles exploded inside the enemy ship, starting fires that spread quickly through the fighter storage areas. Carrier 2 is heavily damaged and withdrawing, Dong-hyun reported. Sir, Heejin said, the remaining Krex ships are pulling back. They are trying to retreat. Let them go, Jin-woo ordered. We got what we came for. The battle was over in less than an hour. Of the 12 Krex ships that had attacked, 4 were completely destroyed, 6 were badly damaged and retreating, and 2 had surrendered. The human fleet had suffered some damage, but no ships were lost and only a few crew members were injured. In the medical bay, Dr. Song came back to check on her patients. Her armor was scorched from helping with damage control, but she was smiling. How did we win? Kwan-ho asked. The same way we always win, Dr. Song said. We refuse to lose. She looked out the window where the Krex ships were limping away into deep space. They thought they could take on humans in a straight fight. Most species try to minimize casualties and preserve their ships. But humans... The Veltheran homeworld looked like a jewel floating in space. 3 moons circled the blue-green planet, and cities of crystal and light dotted the surface like stars. Kwan-ho pressed his face to the window of the medical bay as the human fleet approached his home. Beautiful, Dr. Song said, looking over his shoulder. Your people build with elegance. We have always believed that beauty and knowledge should go together, Kwan-ho replied. Science should make the world more wonderful, not more dangerous. A nice philosophy, Dr. Song said. But sometimes the world is dangerous whether you want it to be or not. Captain Jin-woo's voice came over the communication system. This is the captain. We are being approached by Veltheran defense ships. They are requesting identification and purpose. Kwan-ho smiled. The defense ships were probably small science vessels with light weapons, meant more for rescue operations than fighting. His people did not build warships. Can I talk to them? He asked Dr. Song. Of course. The captain wanted you to speak to them anyway. A few minutes later, Kwan-ho was on the bridge talking to his own people through the communication system. The Veltheran ship commander was surprised to hear his voice. Kwan-ho, we thought you were dead. The entire expedition was listed as lost 3 weeks ago. Nari and I survived. These humans saved us from Krex raiders. There was a long pause. Humans, are you safe with them? Kwan-ho looked around the bridge at the human officers who had risked their lives for 2 strangers. Safer than I have ever been. The human fleet was escorted to the main orbital station above the Veltheran homeworld. It was a massive structure made of the same crystal material as the cities below, designed for research and peaceful meetings. Kwan-ho and Nari were well enough to walk now. They joined Captain Jin-woo and his senior officers on a shuttle to the station. Dr. Taemin carried a datapad with copies of all their research about the ancient ruins. Remember, Captain Jin-woo said as they approached the docking bay, we are guests here. These people have different ways than we do. The docking bay was full of Veltharans waiting to see the humans who had rescued their people. Kwan-ho was surprised by how small and fragile his own species looked compared to the humans, but he was also proud of the warm welcome they were giving to strangers. Elder Moonsick was waiting for them. He was very old, even for a Veltharan with pale skin and wise eyes. He bowed formally to Captain Jin-woo. Welcome to our world, Captain Park. We owe you a debt that can never be repaid. No debt, Jinwoo replied, bowing back. We were happy to help. The formal meetings took place in a great hall made of crystal that caught the light from the planet's sun and scattered it in beautiful patterns on the walls. The Veltharan Council sat in a circle, with Elder Moonsik at the center. Captain Jinwoo presented his officers and explained what had happened. Dr. Taimin shared the research data they had recovered from Kwanho's ship, including the star maps showing the locations of other ancient ruins. This is very disturbing, said Elder Boram, a female council member. If the Kreks can find these other ruins and take the technology there, they could become the strongest military force in this part of the galaxy, Captain Jinwoo finished. That is why we are here. This is too important for any one species to handle alone. Elder Moonsik studied the star maps carefully. 47 locations. Some of them are in neutral space, but others are near inhabited worlds. If the Kreks attack those places, millions of people could die, said Commander Heejin. The council talked quietly among themselves in their own language. Kwanho could understand them, and he could see they were worried. His people were not used to thinking about military threats and defense strategies. What do you propose? Elder Moonsik asked. Captain Jinwoo stood up. A partnership. Your people have the scientific knowledge to study these ruins properly. Our people have the military strength to protect the research teams and keep the sites safe from raiders. You want us to help you build weapons? Elder Boram asked. No. We want to help you understand what happened to this ancient civilization. But we also want to make sure that understanding does not fall into the wrong hands. Another council member, Elder Kyung-ho, spoke up. Humans have a reputation for being aggressive. How do we know you will not use anything we discover for your own purposes? Captain Jinwoo was quiet for a moment. Because we are not here to conquer or control anyone. We are here because 2 of your people needed help and we could not let them die. But you could have just rescued them and left, Elder Boram pointed out. Why stay involved? Dr. Taimin stepped forward. Because knowledge belongs to everyone, not just to those who are strong enough to take it by force. The Kreks want these ruins so they can use the technology to hurt others. We want to study them so everyone can benefit from what we learn. Kwanho asked permission to speak. Honored elders, I have lived among these humans for weeks now. I have seen how they think and act. They are not what we expected, and how so? Elder Moonsik asked. They are violent, yes, but their violence is not random or cruel. They fight to protect things they care about. They saved Nari and me not because they had to, but because they could not stand to let innocent people suffer. Nari stood up next to him. I watched them fight 12 Kreks ships to keep us safe. They could have been killed. Their own families could have been left without fathers and mothers. But they did it anyway. And when the battle was over, Kwanho continued, they did not celebrate killing their enemies. They were just glad we were alive. Elder Moonsik looked at Captain Jinwoo thoughtfully. Your people are warriors. Yes, the captain replied. But we choose what to fight for. And what do you fight for? The right of peaceful people to live their lives without fear. The right of scientists to learn and discover. The right of children to grow up in a safe universe. The council talked among themselves for a long time. Some members were afraid of getting involved with humans. Others worried about what would happen if they did nothing, and the Kreks found the ruins first. Finally, Elder Moonsik called for quiet. We will vote. All those in favor of an alliance with humanity. 7 of the 9 council members raised their hands. The alliance is approved, Elder Moonsik announced. We will work together to study these ancient ruins and protect them from those who would misuse the knowledge. Captain Jinwoo bowed deeply. You honor us with your trust. Over the next few days, the details were worked out. Joint research teams would be formed, with Veltharan scientists and human military escorts. The humans would provide ships and protection, while the Veltharans would lead the scientific investigations. Dr. Taimin and Kwanho spent hours planning the first expedition. They would start with the ruins closest to human space, where protection would be easiest. I am excited to work with you, Dr. Taimin told Kwanho. Your people see things differently than we do. That could lead to discoveries we would never make on our own. And your people's practical approach to problems could help us understand how the ancient technology actually worked, Kwanho replied. On their last day at the Veltharan homeworld, Captain Jinwoo and his officers were given a formal ceremony to honor their rescue of Kwanho, and the entire population of the orbital station gathered to Watch Elder Moonsig presented. Captain Jin Woo with a crystal sculpture of the Soul's Fury. This will remind us that sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places. And sometimes, Captain Jin Woo replied, the people who need help are the ones who end up helping you the most. After the ceremony, Kwan Ho walked with Captain Jin Woo through the station's observation deck. They looked down at the peaceful world below with its floating cities and gentle moons. Your people have built something beautiful here, Captain Jin Woo said. But beauty is fragile, Kwan Ho replied. We learned that when the Kreks attacked our ship. Beautiful things need strong people to protect them. We will protect them, the captain promised, for as long as you need us to. Kwan Ho thought about everything that had happened. 3 weeks ago, he had been drifting in space, waiting to die. Now he was part of an alliance that might change the entire galaxy. Captain, he said, may I ask you something? Of course. When you found us, why did you not just take the research data and leave? It would have been safer for your people. Captain Jin Woo was quiet for a moment, looking at the stars, because that is not who we are. Humans do not abandon people who need help. We do not take what belongs to others, and we do not walk away from our responsibilities. Even when it is dangerous? Especially when it is dangerous. As the human fleet prepared to leave, taking the first joint research team to investigate the ancient ruins, Kwan Ho made one final entry in his research log. Research log, day 875. This is xenobiologist Kwan Ho beginning a new phase of discovery. I have learned that the universe is full of wonders and terrors in equal measure, but I have also learned that when good people work together, the wonders always win. He paused, watching the human ships form up in space outside the station. Today I learned that strength and gentleness are not opposites. The humans who saved us are the most dangerous warriors I have ever met, but they are also the kindest people I know. They fight not because they love violence, but because they love peace enough to defend it.